We are back on Morning Line. Our guest with us this morning is Metro's Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. Just telling me the first reading, I guess, of the mayor's budget will be tomorrow.
Mayor unveiled his budget end of April, State of Metro address. Tax rate is that he's got set is $3.228 per every $100 of assessed value. So he had to bring that down based upon the new appraisals. So that's the rate that we've got. The council has to look at the rate, has to look at what his budget does. The other thing, Nick, that's so interesting is so people are going to be paying, in many cases, the same amount of property taxes because the assessed value went up. The rate may have gone down, but their assessed value was here when it was here, so it just kind of balances out. We'll see what the council does with the rate, but there's money coming in through the Biden administration, through the American Recovery Plan, and that's a whole additional amount of money. And the schools are getting money as well. It's an interesting year to come out of a pandemic with lots of cash out there.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, isn't it? I think it's a good thing. So let's take a call from Joe. Joe, good morning. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey there.
Hey, Joe.
Mr. Scobie.
Close enough.
Mr. Shulman.
The ground downtown is growing like crazy. They're building apartments and hotels and everything. But the suburbs are getting left out of this deal. Although my property tax made a great hike. And my complaint is, I've talked to Mr. Scobie at least a couple of times, and I've called the mayor's office probably 3 or 4 or 5 times, and they always wait for me to desk, or leave a voicemail and I'll return your call, and that hasn't happened yet. I have not received a call back from the mayor's office. It's frustrating when you property tax make a big hike and you can't even get any service.
Well, what was if you did get through? What is it you want to tell him, Joe?
I've been trying to for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Talking to my councilman, talking to the Sergeant White at the Hermitage Station. About this is a cut-through street from Campbell to Donaldson Pike, and people will come through here. I've got every sign that Public Works has got on this street, and they pay no attention to signs. That you can forget that. But I can't get nothing done.
Getting a speed.
Nobody. Yeah. You know, my councilman, every time I talk to him, send him an email or whatever, he comes back with a different story. This has been a traffic calming neighborhood for over 2 years.
Yeah, he's talked about that before, and I don't know.
So let me tell you, because I know who he is.
Yeah, sure.
I know Joe.
And I think he's thinking Scobie, but he knows you're Jim Shulman.
Yeah,
but that was on his mind. Yeah.
So this has been, he's exactly right. And I know he's heard this before. Joe, here's what I would tell you to do, okay? Because I talked to your council member about you last week, because I talked to the mayor's office last week about your situation. Joe is right. It seems like we, particularly in this growth segment, all we do is talk about the big stuff, okay? We're talking about the big stuff, we're talking about downtown, we're talking about Oracle, we're talking about this money flying in, all this other things. But part of this goes back to the same discussion about old Nashville against new Nashville, and it goes directly to what Joe's point is, and that is this idea that sometimes it's the little things that matter, not the big things, okay? So we may have passed Oracle, biggest thing that ever happened in the state of Tennessee, the biggest economic development thing. But most people around here are, they know what Oracle is, but they're never going to have an association maybe with Oracle, or they may walk on the pathway after it gets built or whatever. But we got to remember the little things. So when Joe's talking about the subdivisions outside the city area, he's talking about speed humps on his street.
Yeah, that's what,
okay?
Right.
And so there was just to make Joe, we haven't forgotten him. There was a discussion about this about last week. Joe, talk to your Councilmember Syracuse. I had a conversation with him last week, and we're pushing. It takes a while, and I really regret that. But again, for Joe, it's something that is pretty basic, that's inexpensive, that is not a giant thing like an Oracle. It's just a way of bettering people's lives in the city. And we are, if you can believe it, a step closer to maybe getting Joe's situation taken care of.
It takes a while. Maybe you can say, having been part of the council for a long time, there are constituents who will constantly call council members. That's what it's all about, and constituent services is crucial to your reelection and for what you do. But I mean, there could be maybe 3, 4, 5 dozen Joes in different districts around the city that are asking for similar things, and they all, like Joe, are probably justified. That doesn't mean that that council member at that moment gets that call from someone like Joe, can instantly move on it and say, okay, yeah, speed bump here. But I mean, the process, now I'm not trying to make excuses for why, because Joe's been at this for a while, and at some point in the game, it's got to get to him. But is there kind of a hierarchy, or not a hierarchy, first come, first serve? You got to work your way down the list, because I'm sure that list is long of neighborhoods that would like to see speed bumps. How long should it take?
Well, so that's just it. It's a hierarchy of projects that have to be done. So I'm not sure where Joe's project was on the list, but his project is something really, really small.
Right.
Okay. So the other thing, so you got to figure out the priority. You know, people use the hub now. They can send in their request, and hopefully that gets done that way. But in the end, again, it's those little things that really do make a difference for Joe, for all these other people. And the question is, how fast are we getting that stuff done, and how expensive is it? So if it's, you know, if it's terribly expensive to do something small, like put a speed hump on, first of all, it's like, it's a speed hump. It's not, you're not talking about a lot of money. I mean, first of all, you can order them online for less than $400, $500.
Yeah, you've looked into that before.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like, I can do that. I can order it and I can probably put it in. No, you can't do that. It's like, but it's a speed hump. Well, you know, you're not allowed to mess with the roads. It's like, I got that. But these things have to be done. Remember, and you may not remember this, because somebody was telling me this story the other day about Dick Fulton when he was mayor, long before cell phones and other stuff like that. Dick Fulton would ride around in a car, and he'd have a notebook, and he'd go like, this light's out right here, or you know, this grass needs to be cut. I'm getting requests for people, and the grass isn't cut in some of the medians, and it's like, this looks horrible. Somehow we have to get a system faster where we're ahead of the game. I know it's difficult, but we need to get this stuff done, because it makes Nashville a better place if we can get these little things done.
Now, isn't that cool? There was a time when the mayor had the time to drive like that. I'm not saying you couldn't now, but you could have someone do that, certainly in public works or whatever. But that, yeah, Mayor Dick Fulton would drive around, probably with Maydeen Eberling by his side.
Probably
the wonderful Maydeen, pointing out this and that needs to be done. Well, Joe's not wrong, and I'm sure he appreciates you talking to Syracuse, and there's a lot of other folks paying attention to that same thing. But yeah, all they hear about in the news are the big stories, and maybe that's a partial failure of us not doing more. I get emails all the time or messages on Facebook of people talking about wastewater or sewage or stormwater issues that they have, and they're very real. It's their property, and they're concerned about it.
We got serious stormwater issues in the city.
Yeah, no doubt. And so again, that gets to the point where I think more and more people may be looking at buying outside the city. And that doesn't mean the city's going to be vacant. There'll be just people that can afford to buy here moving in. But you know what? My wife and I were actually looking, just not to move, but just to see, going out as far as Watertown and around there in Wilson County and the like, to see, you know, even properties that far out are getting snapped up in a heartbeat. If you find something you're remotely interested in anywhere in Middle Tennessee, you better make a bid on it right then and there, and it better be over the asking price, or you're not going to get it.
Right. I know.
I mean, it's just, to me, is insane on how it's moving forward, and I think it's exciting in a lot of ways. I'm glad we're back. How long have you been coming on this past year with me? And this past weekend, finally, we're back where people can go out and you get the sense that things are really returning to normal.
Well, so I didn't go out a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
I was resting because I had knee surgery.
Yeah.
But I was hearing from people who said, "Hey, I went to someplace and they don't require a mask anymore."
Yeah.
Or now they're debating it. Or now I was the only person in the store with a mask. We talked about this during this period of time where it's like, how long are you going to wear a mask when you go out after this is over?
Right.
I still have my mask, and I still may put them on.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of a habit thing, but my mask will go on. You know, you and I are sitting about 6 feet apart, but I mean, and that's fine, and we're both fully vaccinated. But I'm not going to go into. I was out of town this past week, and we went to a restaurant at one point during the time when we showed up, and it was packed. Yeah. And I just turned around and walked out. Well, and no one was wearing masks. And maybe others will say I'm going to go in. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for the pack thing. Some of the crowds I saw downtown, no mask, nothing like that. I'm not there. Others may, but I'll tell you what, you still don't want to get COVID. And I still see the city puts out, don't they still every day, an update on how many people have been sick and numbers have gone down. There are still people dying every single day in Metro. Maybe you don't see it, out of sight, out of mind. It's a bad thing. And you think of the hundreds of thousands of people that have already died. And then those who have had it that still don't have their taste or smell back, or wonder down the road if there's going to be some ill effect that comes from it, even though they've recovered. I don't know about you, but I don't want any part of that crap.
No. I mean, I remember again the discussions about and just getting into that mode where you're wearing a mask. You know, I was uncomfortable when people weren't 6 feet away in line. It was like, why are they not following the rules? That type of stuff. It's like, because everybody needs to be really, really careful. I don't, you know, for some people, it's like just rip off the mask and run downtown. Yep. I just don't know if I'm going to get there quite yet.
I wonder. I'm maybe waiting to see, too. And I pity the fool, and I do say fool, who sees me wearing a mask and says something to me, because I will eviscerate them. I'm not going to put up with that crap. And just like I see someone with a mask, or if I see someone without a mask, none of my business. You go about your business. You want to say something to me, get ready to get it right back in your face, and it'll be ugly. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls in our final segment with Vice Mayor Jim Shulman right after this.